Florida State will honor Jameis Winston with the retirement of his jersey this weekend. Florida State's Vice President and Director of Athletics, Michael Alford, announcing today that the jersey worn by the 2013 Heisman Trophy winner and consensus All-American quarterback Jameis Winston will be retired following the first quarter of Saturday's home game against North Alabama. And you look at these numbers, and it's another reminder of how special a player Jameis Winston was. As a freshman in 2013, he led Florida State to a 14-0 record in the 2013 National Championship with a win over Auburn in the Rose Bowl. In the process, Winston became the youngest player ever to win the Heisman Trophy. In addition, Winston won the Davey O'Brien Award, the Manning Award, and the Walter Camp's Player of the Year Award. The Bessemer, Alabama native became the first freshman ever to win the ACC Player of the Year, and recording 40 touchdown passes and setting the national freshman record for passing yards with 4,057, while also leading the country in pass efficiency rating at 184.8 in 2013. As a sophomore, Winston led FSU to the national semifinals in the first ever college football playoff, where the Noles lost to Oregon in the aforementioned game in the Rose Bowl. The retirement of Jameis Winston's jersey will certainly be a great event on our campus, said Michael Alford. He had a huge impact on Florida State football, and his place as one of our all-time greats is unquestioned. I know we all look forward to seeing his number 5 becoming a permanent part of Doak Campbell Stadium. Over his 2-year career, Winston passed for 7,964 yards, 65 touchdowns, while compiling a 26-1 record. His career pass efficiency mark of 163.28 ranked as the 10th best in the history of college football and is the FSU and ACC record. Winston won his first 26 starts, a feat unmatched by major NCAA Division I quarterbacks all time. He was also a valuable member of Florida State's nationally ranked baseball team for 2 years as a pitcher and outfielder, serving as the closer in 2014. Winston left for the NFL, as you guys know, in 2014, became FSU's first ever number 1 draft pick when he was selected by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was the Buccaneers starting quarterback for 5 years and has been with the Saints since 2020. So far, over his NFL career, Winston has completed 1,748 passes for 21,941 yards and 139 touchdowns. Winston will become just the 11th FSU player to be honored with the retirement of his number in jersey. He will join Seminole greats Fred Biletnikoff, Ron Sellers, Ron Simmons, Deion Sanders, Charlie Ward, Warwick Dunn, Chris Winkie, Derek Brooks, Terrell Buckley, and Marvin Jones. Florida State began retiring the jersey rather than the number of its all-time great student athletes in 1997. So congratulations to Jameis Winston. That will be fun on Saturday night. And certainly we do look back on this solving for the future for a time that Florida State did just that by acquiring Jameis Winston. And I can tell you personally, in getting to know him, it was always fun to have conversations with Jameis Winston, both in his collegiate career and his pro career. But also, I will tell you what his coaches would talk about, and Tom was privy to this too. We frequently would ask Jimbo Fisher about Jameis's football acumen and pre-snap abilities to go along with physical tools. And I think Jameis Winston was the guy that he gushed about most time and again. And there weren't too many players, if any, that he was willing to do that with and concede that at times Jameis knew more about what he was looking at than Jimbo Fisher did. And that is one hell of a compliment because it's not something that Jimbo parted with very easily. So behind the scenes, as well as the obvious talents on the field, you saw all of those things. So pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the underrated things that Jameis did in his career, beyond the obvious listings that you rightfully put together from 2013 and 2014, he played through most of the 2014 season with a high ankle sprain that was debilitating. Yeah. I think he suffered it on the road at NC State. I could be wrong. It might have been that was the first game that he was playing through the high ankle injury. But again, that's a different year. The team was completely different. There was complacency, but he would always lead them back in the second half. Sometimes mistakes of his own making in the first half against Notre Dame or Louisville or other opponents, and he would find a way to lead them back. That 2014 season was a lot of things, but in some ways to me, it was as important and as impressive as 13 because he did not have Kelvin Benjamin. He did not have Rashad Green, who was the same player that year. Rashad had several games in 2014 in which he had major issues bringing in routine passes like
Yeah.
the Boston College game at home. Remember the Boston College game? My goodness.
Yes. Oh, yes, very much so.
You're breaking in a young Travis Rudolph. Ermon Lane is in the rotation for Florida State at wide receiver. Some of the smaller guys as well. Yes, Nick O'Leary was by his side, and Dalvin Cook did emerge towards the end of that campaign, and did he ever? Because Jameis' worst game in his career was the home game against Florida, and Dalvin was a stud that day. But the bar was set so high, so consistently, and in a way, sometimes again of his own doing, he had to rally the team by himself in the second half of so many of those games. That year was incredible. It wasn't the Heisman campaign that was basically a perfect season, but that year was an incredible feat from a quarterback who had to do a hell of a lot more heavy lifting than he had to do the season prior when we won the whole thing.
Yeah, it's fun to look back on. It'll be fun to see them honor that jersey and to celebrate those moments. It'll be fun to welcome back those players that were on that 2013 team with them. It would be cool to celebrate in the moment. And it's good that it's happening at a time in which Florida State is once again back in the mix, right? The buzz around this program is similar to where it was at the end of Jameis's time in Tallahassee, right? Where people have an expectation that Florida State can once again be great, and all that's left to do now is to try to win a championship.
My favorite moment, not from the championship year, because the one in the championship year is easy. It's on the field at Clemson, and being on the field to see how he operated, that was something to behold. But was 14 sitting in the press box against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame shows pressure, and it's a goal-to-go situation for Florida State. Jameis sees it, checks out of the play, and we're sitting next to each other, I do believe. And I'm saying,
touchdown.
I'm saying change the defense. It's a touchdown. This is a touchdown. Why aren't you changing your defense? Snap the ball. Throws to his left. It might have been Rudolph. It might not have been, but he throws to his left and is an easy pitch to catch. I'm like, you fools. This kid knows. You just showed him your hand. You better check out of it. And they didn't. That's who he was, man. He just processed information like crazy, and he was so anticipatory in college. It was ridiculous.
Well, in 2013, you and I both being on the field for that Clemson game, as you just noted, I was fortunate enough to be on the Noles sideline. You were fortunate enough to be in the spot where he hits Kelvin Benjamin, that great throw, and there's all kinds of cool video we do in the background, and those two police officers. It's great. But I was fortunate enough to be on the sideline before they took the field for their first possession. And if you recall that night, Clemson's fan base was trying to set a record for the loudest the stadium had ever been, and they had the big noise meter and the whole to-do, and it was loud. It was deafening. But Jameis addressed the offense as they were getting ready to take the field. And I cannot repeat exactly what he said, but to the extent that he noted they wanted to shut these fans up. Let's put it this way. And that's what he said. It was a snapshot into his confidence and how it was that he infused that confidence into everybody else. He was letting them know that this is what they were about to go do, and did, and then had something funny to say as he came off the field after that first touchdown, noting that it was going to be one of many that they were going to score on that night, and that these fans would soon want to find the exits. And I thoroughly enjoyed seeing what that was.